Gone. The Vancouver artist released the music video for Gone today, and he's been good enough to join us in studio. Good afternoon.
Thanks so much for having me.
Welcome to the program. What was it like looking back at your own experience and creating music out of it?
Doing the song, because we collaborated with Sagita, it wasn't as difficult. Shooting the video, for part of it, I'm like, I can't even be there. Like, it was really hard to be on set because you get flashbacks. It's really weird. So it was shoot the video for sure.
What was your family's experience?
It was, again, I think it started off great. Obviously, I wasn't born in the beginning, but my mom says they were great. But obviously, as I was born and, until I turned 6 or 7, you could tell there wasn't a lot of love in the relationship. It was all of verbal abuse, and then, it ended in physical abuse, and then luckily my mom, slowly got out of that relationship.
And what was it like for you to grow up amid that?
Man, you don't really realize it till later, but it really changed my view on men and dads. I've had a distrust of dads my whole life, and I'm just now starting to try to learn hey, not all dads are like my dad.
How have you reconciled that? How have you come to this place now?
Yeah, I've been trying to read a couple books and stuff about just those relationships, but it's really hard. It really changes your perspective on the way you think men operate in the world. So yeah, it really affects children, and it's hard to get over that stuff as you get older.
Gone is based on your mother leaving your father. Can you tell me about that experience and what life was like for you?
Yeah, it was a lot better to leave because there was a lot of yelling in the house and leaving, and I think that a lot of people think it's going to be worse because it's harder financially to be on your own than to be in a couple, but definitely the amount of yelling was less, and that was of course a step in the right direction.
And how did you translate all of that? I mean, you've been through so much. How did you translate all of that experience into this very difficult to make music video?
Yeah, it's about breaking the silence, and a lot of people say committing a crime and witnessing the crime is the same thing. So if you don't say something, it was your fault just as much. You could have said something, you could have reported something. So in this case, I couldn't have dialed 911. I can't go back in time. But at least now, as a mature adult, I can be that voice to be hey, these stories are happening. Because if you're a witness to it and you're not banging the horn, you're just as guilty as everyone else is.
Is that why you wanted to make the song in this video?
Yeah, exactly. I was here's a story that if not enough people are banging this horn, if I don't share this story, then I'm just as bad as those guys that are actually being abusive.
This is, of course, a difficult subject about, regardless of culture, but are there specific challenges talking about it in the South Asian community?
And I thought it was in that community, but it's not. If you talk to the Battered Women's Society, they'll tell you it's across cultures. It's every culture thinks that, we have a stigma, but it's every culture has a stigma against abuse and keeping it private, and against divorce, and that divorce it's a stigma in not just the South Asian community, it's widespread.
How does it feel for you to talk about this now, make this music and this video and raise that kind of awareness? How does it feel for you?
Yeah, I don't want to feel like I'm anything good, and my issue is I feel even with my message, I feel like it's still putting some onus on the women to go get help and call Battered Women's Society or something like that. But it's I want to turn the camera back on men. It's our responsibility to be better men. So I'm still kind of struggling with how do you change the entire cultural norm to refocus the light on men, not on women to get help, but on men to not be violent.
How do you do that?
Yeah, that's the $1 million question. Obviously, the UN is working on it big time. And that's why, I thought music, right? Because men and women enjoy music equally. So I'm hoping that it's not women targeting women. Here's a song that men and women will both enjoy. And I'm hoping when men see the stats at the end, it's 1 in 3 women that experience violence, I'm hoping men are start to go, oh crap, maybe we need to talk more.
Right. At the end of the music video, you have facts about domestic violence in Canada, information on the battered women's support services. What response would you like to see when people watch your video and see that information?
Yeah, I want them to know it's not a little issue. It's huge. It's like the UN calls it a plague, and that's the best way to think of it. It affects 1 in 3 women and as violence, and 1 in 5 women are actually killed by their domestic. It's crazy. That is not something that just happens, once in a while. It's an epidemic, and so I'm really hoping that men, when they see that, are going to be like, okay, we need to start bringing this up with other men. Like, we need to start saying something when we see this, like, other men using this kind of behavior. Like, we really need to step it up.
Hussein, you talk about what it was like for you to leave and how life got better because there wasn't as much yelling and you didn't have to see that around you. What kinds of support do you think are needed for families who do leave situations of domestic abuse?
Well, something like Battered Women's Society, they have a hotline now. I'm not sure what was there when this happened to my mom, 20 years ago, but I definitely think in Vancouver anyway, that would be a great place to start, and then they can help you navigate that system. But it really is the main focus is the economics of it. I know it sounds weird, but there needs to just be, hey, if you leave, we can help you in the economics of your family, because that's a big deterrent.
Have you talked to your mom about this?
Well, yeah, she's been in it the whole way about the story, but she didn't want to be in the video at the end. I really wanted to, because she says this thing it wasn't that bad. It was, I remember it as being bad because I remember the yelling, but I think after the fact, she's like, it's over. It wasn't that bad. There's so many more women that do have it way worse than she had. So she's like, it's not a big deal. Why are you doing this about me? It's not that big of a deal. Find someone that, you know what I mean? She's kind of like that. So she really plays it down.
What have those conversations been like?
Yeah, it's funny. I think it's a retrospect conversation. A lot of people that go through things, and it's true. It's actually not just my mom, and it's a lot of people. It's kind of this thing about how people deal with trauma is, to get through it, they downplay it. It's almost like you can either delete it from your memory or just push it down, so it wasn't that bad, just move on. But then you forget that it was that bad, right? You still have to have that conversation that it actually was that bad.
Has she seen the video?
Not yet. I'm going to show it to her tomorrow. Tomorrow is the actual day, so we released it today online so people could watch, but I'm going to show it to her tomorrow.
Okay, well, best of luck to you. Thank you so much for sharing your story.
Thanks so much for having me.
That's Hussein Aladina, a DJ and founding member of Global Party Starters.